Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer made one thing very clear that a lot of people aren't talking about. Stick around. Let's talk about it. I'm going to tell you why the Tide is more prepared for SEC play than you think. This is Way Offsides. 3, 2, let's go. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Way Offsides. Alabama football has been a hot topic right now in the sports media world. You got folks who are either convinced that Alabama is going to go 8-4, 7-5, or folks who are finally buying into what Kalen DeBoer is building in Tuscaloosa. And today, I'm going to tell you why you should be more than confident that the Alabama Crimson Tide is ready for this gauntlet of a schedule they have in 2025, even with the injury to Jam Miller, even with the questions that you have, even with Connor Talty. I'm going to tell you why Alabama is poised and ready to make another run for a national title. Before we get there, leave a big Roll Tide in the comment box below. While you're there, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all the things so you don't miss a bit of the action, because boys and girls, we've got action planned. Roll Tide? Yeah, Roll Tide. All right, getting into it. No background music today. It's distracting. Getting into it. Alabama completed its second scrimmage of fall yesterday. Very little notes coming out of that. There weren't a lot of people privy to what was going on. There were some people who kind of hung out around outside the stadium and things like that and talked to some players, but very, very few people had access to what was going on in the scrimmage, and that was by design. Coming off of it, some things of note that Kalen DeBoer talked about. We did a video on. You can go watch that. We actually did a live. You can hear the audio from Kalen DeBoer in that Q&A session post scrimmage, but he talked about the concussion to Jaden Roberts. He talked about some kicking issues. He talked about the secondary. Obviously, he talked about the quarterbacks a little bit. Everything seems to be kosher with the Tide. Well, one thing he left out was that Jam Miller was banged up. Rumors started swirling yesterday. We didn't really want to touch on it until we knew for sure, but Kalen DeBoer sent out an official word this morning, pretty much a mass word, that yes, Jam Miller did sustain an upper body injury. He'll be out for an unspecified amount of time. We'll see what that looks like. But keeping that in mind, keeping the concussion injury to Jaden Roberts and all of these things in mind, there was something else that Coach DeBoer said yesterday that folks really aren't talking about. And I just tweeted it out earlier, but he hinted that they have planned accordingly for these injuries. He talked about what practice was going to look like this coming up week, and that it will look a little different than they're used to because he's going to allow some time for recovery. He said the guys are banged up, but they expected that. Why? Why did they expect that? A lot of people I've seen already are like, why was GM scrimmaging, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's because they are trying to instill a different mindset in this 2025 squad. And Coach DeBoer was very clear yesterday that they expected it because they wanted fall camp to be extremely physical. So much so that he moved the scrimmage time yesterday. It was previously scheduled to be earlier in the morning. He moved it to later in the afternoon so that the temperatures were hotter. This is opposed to a year ago when they were moving practices to the early morning because it was cooler, things like that. So very dramatic shift in Tuscaloosa, and one that I think is of necessity because you could look at the squad coming out of the 2024 season and some people would use the word soft. I typically don't want to say that because these kids, whether they're good or bad, are working harder than most of us do in a week. They're putting in more work in one day than we do in a week, at least the physical part of it. But the mentality for the team has to be hardened. It has to be battle tested. And I mean, they start on the road down at FSU, and I get it. It's a 2-10 team from last year. Doesn't seem that daunting. However, this is going to be an improved FSU team. They're going to have an offensive coordinator who is very familiar and has given Alabama fits in the past when he was the head coach at Auburn. And it's on the road at a intimidating place to play. Doesn't matter how good they are. Doak Campbell Stadium is a loud, intimidating environment. It is one of those traditionally cool environments in college football. And I use cool as in like interesting, fun, not cool as in cool, because it's going to be hot as hell. And so Kalen DeBoer let it slip that he really is wanted to put these kids through the gauntlet in fall camp to prepare their bodies, to prepare their minds for what's going to happen this season. Alabama's schedule is not an easy one. It's not the hardest one in the SEC by all means. That crown belongs to Florida. Again, I don't know what Florida did to piss off the scheduling gods, but they have. However, in terms of Alabama, to get through the gauntlet that they have to get through, you get a couple of tune-up games and things like that. You're going to bring Wisconsin to town. You're going to go on the road to FSU. Those two games are going to prepare you early, but then you got to go to Athens, right? The expectation there is if Alabama loses, you already know what the media narrative is going to be. Then you get Vandy at home. Vanderbilt, I don't suspect Alabama loses to Vanderbilt like they did last year. However, it's still Diego Pavia, and he's a playmaker. The schedule does not get easier after that. It gets much more difficult. You're going to get Tennessee at home. You're going to go on the road to South Carolina. You're going on the road to Missouri. And you're going to finish all this up after you get a surging, at least in public opinion, a surging LSU team at home. You're going to finish all this up with Auburn on the road. Jordan-Hare is never a good, easy place to play for Alabama. So where does it start? It starts in the fall. It starts in camp. It starts by creating a vicious physical, and that's the word he used. He said we wanted fall to be very physical. So they had planned for these injuries. They knew people were going to get dinged up, and they'll manage it just fine. And I think that is not only a testament to understanding what the SEC is, but it's also an area of mental growth for Kalen DeBoer that a lot of people aren't going to talk about. He is adjusting to life in the SEC. He's adjusting to being the head coach at Alabama. Last season, you had ice cream trucks, and like I said, they moved practices to earlier in the day to escape the heat. Some of that may or may not have impacted the team on the field. I would say it probably did, but they wanted fall to be as physical as the season was going to be. And so when that happens, yes, guys are going to get dinged up. That's part of it. But what that also tells me is that guys were taking that serious. That means dudes are out there laying the lumber with those pads, popping pads, doing what they needed to do to simulate real game situations as much as possible. And that's only going to help Alabama when you get into the grind of the season. No matter what happens, once you get 6 or 7 games into this thing, injuries are part of it. You have to manage it. So why not start managing it now, getting used to it, understanding it, the best way to do it. Also, not to mention, Alabama has a very, very deep running back room. So, this is probably the best position this could have happened at. And we're going to do another video later about that. So please, again, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. Alabama actually has a running back who is the exact same size as Derrick Henry was when he was at Alabama. But Kalen DeBoer, it's just interesting that nobody's really talking about that statement that he made. And maybe I'm taking it out of context. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. But he definitely alluded to the fact that they expected there to be some injuries because they wanted the camp to be extremely physical. And that tells me that Kalen DeBoer, as a head coach, as the guy in Tuscaloosa, is evolving to what he needs to be to get Alabama to the top again and to be as successful as we all think Kalen DeBoer can be. The pieces are there. Everything's there. And this could be the year. I'm sold on it. Tell me what you think. Championship or bust. Thanks for sticking around with me. Like I said, I've said it 3 times already. I'll say it one more time. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all the things so that you don't miss anything. Fall camp has wrapped up. The season is 13 days away. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. Fall recruiting is about to get into full swing. We got players visiting everywhere, 5-star wide receivers, potentially visiting Alabama at some point in time. One of them, which is on Flip Watch right now from LSU to Tennessee. You know who I'm talking about. Jingle the keys, baby. Thanks for sticking around with me. A big roll tide to you all. As always, say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands. Horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too.